Okay, this is assessing energy system training on the AirRunner. For those of you who have seen the assault bike video for assessment of energy system training, you'll see some similarities, but there is a large discrepancy in the order and the way we go about assessing energy system training, simply because we need to have a different kind of strength in order to perform maximally on the AirRunner. Secondly, remember our overarching theme for this in practice is sustainability so that we can practice as much as possible on the AirRunner. So we really want to overcome all those biomechanical limitations we had talked about. Assuming that people have a technical proficiency to running, we want to make sure that individuals are strong enough first prior to trying to assess energy system training on the AirRunner. And once you're strong enough and you're capable of doing those things against your own body weight to ensure that you can withstand all the forces on the AirRunner, then you can assess sustainable measures. After you're capable of being strong enough and testing sustainable measures, then you can test pain. After you're strong enough and you've tested sustainable measures and you've tested pain, then and only then can you test and assess the energy system training of gain for the AirRunner. So this is largely different than maybe some other energy system training assessment tools or things that you've heard before, and simply because it's very hard to express, it's very hard to express energy system training at full levels of all of these areas, gain, pain, and sustain, without the proper strength. So how to assess energy system training for the AirRunner? You first have to have some ideas of what is strong enough. And so we're going to give you 3, and you'll see those videos to show you exactly how you partake in those exercises to ensure you are strong enough. And I don't want to make it so clinically advanced and technical that it seems like it's very hard just to do the tests. I've made them quite simple, so that meaning simple in the understanding of doing them, such that if you do these tests, you should either be able to do them or you can't, and that should motivate you to either get stronger or improve your technical ability of those specific things. So postural endurance, single leg strength, and core is tested. I'll repeat, postural endurance, single leg strength, and core is tested. If you remember our biomechanical limitations and what goes on in the practice of the AirRunner and our goal of being sustainable, you have to have these things in place before you start partaking in doing more work over a period of time. It's largely the case where people start just participating in all different kinds of energy system training on the AirRunner, yet they don't have the prerequisite strength, nor do they have the technical proficiency. So we try to close that gap very simply by ensuring people can do what's called a 2-minute Sorenson, and you'll see that in the video link, where you're doing basically a hold as long as possible, and hopefully you can do that for 2 minutes. You're going to use 25% of your total body weight in pounds in dumbbells per hand, and you're going to do 8 split squat per leg. You can take whatever rest you need to kind of warm up for that or to ensure you get what you need to have. But if you're a 200-pound individual, that means that you need to have 50 pounds per hand, and you need to be able to do 8 repetitions per leg on the split squat video that you see connected to this. And lastly, 5 push-ups. It seems kind of simple, but the push-up is actually a really great connector of the core to the periphery. So if you think about it, what prevents me from falling to the floor when I do a push-up is me maintaining some rigidity from here to here. And if I can keep my toes on the ground and my hands on the ground, and I can lower myself to the ground and then back up 5 times, that gives me a really good indication of the strength that I need in my trunk in order for me to stay in a great posture for running, okay? So first, go after trying to get strong enough, and then you can move into the next portion, which will be sustainability. These are fairly simple, and as you've seen, possibly, if not, I'd suggest you look at the assault bike energy system training assessment. You'll see some similarities there, and there's reasons for this. We want these tests to be implementable. We want to ensure people can be strong enough to perform it, and we want to make sure you can take things from the test, do a training intervention, and then come back and simply retest to see if it's better, okay? So in sustainability, which you remember is aerobic, oxidative, sustainable ideas, we're going to use a 10-minute time trial test for that. Again, not to get in super long detail, but We could extend this out to 20, 30, 60, 90 minutes of a time trial. That would definitely be more of a proper indication of true aerobic potential because it has volume. But in a lot of cases, you're going to get a lot of characteristics of how well people do for 10 minutes for that pace that would be held for 20, 30, 40, 50, okay? So our sustain test will be you warm up appropriately, you get onto the AirRunner, you put a 10-minute time trial on there, and you're going to measure distance for 10 minutes, okay? And that's your total score. You're going to have a training intervention based upon you after doing that testing. Over a period of time, you're going to retest that exact same machine, the exact same time of day, the exact same possible time of the week of your training, and then retest the exact same time frame, and then compare your distances. Then you know if there's any kind of training intervention you made that improved your sustainability, okay? To simply assess pain, which is basically that very short, unsustainable actions that we're going to have. On running, it's going to be for 3 minutes as a time trial. And this should be significantly different here. If you also remember for the assault bike testing, with all the data that we had on it, it was fairly easy with the machinery to say this is where you should, this is absolute scores that you should search for. We don't have these in place simply because of the variability of humans and the machines for the AirRunner, and we probably need another 10, 15, 20 years of that practice to give you some real data so that you can say, oh, what should I get in that time trial? We don't have that comparison to give you. So for 3 minutes as an example, there's no comparison of what you should get in 3 minutes for pain as to what you got for 10 minutes, right? Just know that this is a shorter period of time, therefore the intensity and effort should be for unsustainable purposes, which means that you're pretty much going as fast as you can, as long as possible, just to try to hang on for 3 minutes. And that pace should be significantly different than 10 minutes. It should be faster paced than 10 minutes. Therefore, the distance that you're going to cover is the same score you're going to have. Same idea, same control measures, same day, etc. And in the training program as to how to work on these, I'll show you more eloquently how to put it together for test and retest. But you're going to test it for 3 minutes, do a training intervention over a period of time, then come back and retest the exact same thing, same machine, same time frame. Pretty simple, okay? And you're going to be measured in distance. Now, all of this has to take place in both training interventions and measurement prior to you testing gain. So gain is really it's an acceleration. It's as fast as possible in a short period of time. Because remember, gain in itself is really an expression of stored energy. So when you store that, you're not going to have massive metabolic consequences of the testing that occurs in that 10 seconds time frame. The way you want to think about it is how high can the wattage get? So there's a high technical turnover frequency and stride length component to gain, which is what it should be by that period of time. But because it's so violent and it's so fast and it's so explosive, you need all of this stuff in both training and practice and testing before you get here to try this out, okay? And then trying this out effectively or doing it right out of the gates before you've participated in all of this could result in injury or could result in you getting some compensatory issues with trying to sprint for 10 seconds when you don't have the strength or the volume and technical proficiency built up for the test, okay? So when you do the gain test, you're going to look for a peak wattage that's occurring on the machine that will show you very clearly where it sits in 10 seconds. So it's a rolling start, pick up speed, and go as fast as possible in a 10-second time frame. Now when you get to here, or right now you may be thinking, well, 10 seconds is not a lot. Well, it's not supposed to be a lot, and by the time you get here with all this training, you'll see that 10 seconds is a really long period of time when you're trying to put as much energy as possible into going as fast as you can on the machine, okay? So to recap, you have to be strong enough first in your assessments. That's the first place you're going to go. And I want you to think about this either as a user or coach. You're going to be coaching individuals. Make sure people can do this first prior to partaking in these next assessments of energy system training, okay? After that, then you can test sustain. What is sustain? 10 minutes time trial for distance. After you've practiced that with the testing, training intervention, and retesting again, you can then test pain. How do you test pain? Shorter time frame, obviously higher pace, a 3-minute time trial for distance. Okay? After you've tested that, trained it, and then retest it, over time you can test gain. What is gain? Peak wattage in 10 seconds. So as fast as possible as you can go, that's going to be your score. And then, of course, you can have a training intervention and then come back and retest that over time to see if you've improved it. Okay? So that is how we're going to assess energy system training for the AirRunner. It's slightly different than other modalities, as it should be. And now we'll get into discussing how we're going to put the training together for each of those energy system training.